This episode, the Atlanta Home Show. In an effort to stay up on the latest trends and new materials, John and Larry recently visited the Atlanta Home Show. We found some really interesting new technologies and products that we thought we'd do a recap on the show and just kind of let you know what's going on. Welcome to the Handyman Pros Radio Show, home improvement and maintenance tips from the pros. Thanks for listening to another edition of the Handyman Pros Radio Show, where our goal is to help save you time, money, and aggravation on your home maintenance and repair. This edition is called the Atlanta Home Show. To help me explain, I'm here with my ever-cheerful co-host and old buddy, John. John, it's story time. Tell me a story, Johnny. What's happening?
Well, I don't know what to tell you, Larry. A bedtime story? Is that what you're after? You looked a little tired.
I feel a little tired. Oh, I had I had one of those rare 12-hour days yesterday. I'm kind of tired. I didn't get home till almost 9 o'clock last night. It was one of those not a little drywall repair. It was 3 sheets of drywall, and I wanted to make sure I got the initial coat of mud on and taped it up and got the mud on, and so I just kept on going and kept on going and kept on going. So anyway, yes, I'm a little tired.
And it's a little bit of a hike too, right?
Yeah, it was a bit. It's for a friend. It's a long story. Anyway.
Yeah, well, yesterday I restored kind of a mailbox, to tell you the truth. It was one of those Imperial mailboxes, if you know what those are. Those are the cast aluminum ones.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
They're really nice. And the nice part about them is you can buy all the parts, and you can just keep rebuilding them. So I spray painted it and rebuilt the whole thing, and everybody's happy.
We're going to do a show on mailboxes one of these days because it's kind of funny. Number one, there's regulations around a mailbox. And then the second thing is there's a lot of things you can do with a mailbox. Anyway,
yeah.
We'll do a show. We'll do a show on mailboxes.
Talk about that later.
We'll talk about that later. So, Johnny, we in our eminent wisdom, we went out to the Atlanta Home Show here recently, didn't we?
We did. And if anybody's familiar with Atlanta, it's at the Cobb Galleria, big space over there that they had, and there was a lot of people there. That was a big show. It was a little bigger than I thought. I guess little bigger than I thought it was going to be. It's the first time I've ever gone to that one. We've gone to other shows, but they've been kind of Atlanta's broken up, folks. If you don't know this, for those people out there, it's kind of broken up into counties and/or areas, I guess. And we went to the Gwinnett show not too long ago, and I've been to shows up like at North Point Mall, which is up on the north side, and so we've done these kinds of things before. This is kind of the quote the big one for Atlanta. So a lot of vendors there. Yeah, there was a lot of vendors. And we went on Friday morning. We purposely went on, and I like to go if you want to interact with people on either a business level or whatever. You go when there's not that many, when the crowd isn't there.
The crowd isn't there, yeah.
So it went through Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, I think it was.
Yes, it was a Friday, Saturday. So we went Friday morning first thing. And actually, there were a good amount of people there, but I wouldn't say it was overwhelming for Friday. We didn't stay past about 3:30, I guess we left. And so we weren't there for the afternoon, quote, rush, if you want to call it that. And yeah, I was shocked. I think one of the things that shocked me more than anything else were the number of, what would you call them, Johnny? Things that I guess I didn't really think about. Like there were mattress companies there, and I never really think of that as a home show item. Well, but it sort of makes sense, right?
Sure, it makes sense. And there was hot tubs. There was, you name it, it was there. It was interesting. It was an interesting show, and honestly, when when I looked down at my watch, it was 3:30. We were there at what, 10?
Yeah, we got there at 10 o'clock.
Somewhere on there. So it went by pretty fast. And our goal was to look at new products, new technologies,
do a little networking,
do some networking, see what knowledge we could bring to the audience.
Yeah. Yep. And so kind of our parameters when we go to a show is like, number one, there's certain things we're basically not interested in talking to people. And it's more because I guess there's so many choices when you go to these shows. And one of the examples is like windows and doors. We did not talk to any windows and doors people because there had to have been, I don't know how many windows and door people were there, John.
A
There were a
lot.
bunch.
Yeah,
There were
there is a
bunch.
bunch, and they were all the usual suspects. You know, the Marvins and Andersons and all that.
Yep.
And good for them. I just was not, really interested in that, at least this time around.
Well, in from what we said, we were kind of looking for new and different types of, materials, technologies, companies that are bringing something a little bit different to the table.
Yeah,
And so that was one of our kind of like, again, when there's 15 vendors selling windows and doors, it's like, okay, so it would have overwhelmed us. There's nothing truly brandy new and unique in the windows and doors. And I know I'm
right.
going to catch grief for that. Somebody's going to say, yes, there is. And I'm not. And again, we're not trying to belabor it, but we did not go after those. We did not talk to general remodeling people,
Yeah,
largely because we talk about all of those kinds of things. And so to go to talk to somebody that does general remodeling is basically like talking to ourselves. So to a degree, I'll preface that, to a degree. They have much deeper pockets, but there were a bunch of general remodeling people there too. So if you wanted to do a complete kitchen or a complete remodel on your home, plenty of choices of people to talk to there about that. And if you indeed were shopping for those kinds of things, wouldn't be a bad place to go see everybody in one place.
well, that's exactly right. If you're interested in that stuff, it was well worth it was well worth the time to go there. If I was remodeling my house, doing a bunch of things, that would be a must go to.
Yeah, same thing. If actually, if you were contemplating doing windows and doors, it was really nice.
Yeah,
If you were doing that, you go in and there's 10 or 15 vendors that you can go talk and you can get your comparisons all in one day and in one way. That was not our goal, right? That was not our goal to go in
right,
and talk to that many different people about those kinds of things.
right, right.
So, but what we did do is we went and we looked for some kind of creative things and some different takes that people have on things as far as just, well, all products, all the different products, right, John? I mean, we were really looking for like, what struck us as unique and different. So we saw our Lift It Right concrete guys that they were on the show
Right.
in March 3/23 of 2020, and they were on our show from one of the last trade shows we did, and they have a relatively, it's not unique at this point. When they started, it was really unique, but it's not super unique now, but super good guys. We're going to have them back on the show, do an update on lifting concrete. So if you have a slab or something, or a sidewalk, or they just did a great big huge commercial job, which we'll go over when we get them on the show, and it was a big one. But very, very cool technology for lifting concrete and stabilizing soil and things like that. So we saw them. Who else did we see, John? What were some kind of the interesting ones that we saw?
Well, we ran into a gentleman that did these sheds, if you will. They were more
Yep.
like, they were something that really interested you. They were more than sheds, and I believe the background on these guys are that they had produced a lot of furniture and things for these shows themselves.
Trade shows. Yep.
The
For
trade shows.
Yep.
And then when the trade show business kind of dried up, they said, hey, since we're doing all this, why don't we do something else? And they put together this kind of like a do-it-yourself building. I mean, the way I would describe it is bigger than a shed, and you can keep adding on to it. The one that we saw was 12 by 12 there, and it looked like a little
12.
it looked like a little house.
Yeah. So
And it was
some
really
of the
cool.
Yeah, to me, some of the really interesting things here, these were really more of, I would really call them more of an ADU or an
Yeah.
auxiliary dwelling unit, or maybe like if you were contemplating building an office and you wanted to put a little, because of COVID, you wanted to put a little remote office on your property, these things were ideal. The other thing that was very, very interesting, and we're going to have them on the show for sure, but it's a modular concept and the walls come pre-assembled. So basically and they work on this trade show technology. It's kind of this click lock securing system, and really, really kind of a fascinating insight into building technology that's not being used. Real, I've never seen anything else like it. Have you, John? I mean, the way
No,
he was putting
no,
those walls together.
no, and they had the video of the two of their kids, I believe, were it was a a
Kids being
motion.
20 somethings.
Yeah, yeah. They built this thing, and it was
Yeah.
just a time lapse type of video, but really interesting over one day that they put this whole thing together. And
Yeah, he actually said about 5 hours they assembled that the
yeah,
piece itself.
I mean, it's got windows, it's got floors, it's got, I mean, the whole bit. It's unbelievable, really. When I more I thought about it, but it does fit a need, for those who want something like that.
Yeah,
Um,
and the company's called Mod Shed,
yeah, mod
MODSHED,
shed.
Mod Shed. And one other thing for our handyman friends out there, they are looking for contractors to
Oh
help
yes.
install these products all over the country. So we'll get into that more when we have them on the show. But if you've got the ability to put these up, because honestly, they're an easy build other than just the time, because everything is, it's just a fast, anyway, it was fascinating. We'll have them on and we'll talk about them. Um, Another one that I found was really interesting. We came upon this fella, and he had this thing called, it was like a sprayed on limestone product. It was, I don't know, how would you describe it, John? It's not really stucco. It's really limestone,
It's
but
crushed. It's what it was it was crushed limestone in a slurry, and
yep.
they sprayed it on, with these high pressure pumps. I'm sure that would spit this stuff out. And I think if I remember right, if you're thinking about this, it's like puts a coating on the wall, and then they go through it, and while it's drying, they carve bricks in
They
it.
they carve stone
Stone
or
in it.
bricks, or they can do bricks as well. They
Yeah.
have a whole series. This is what was fascinating. They had a whole series of things that they could do on the outside for appearance sakes, and different colors and different ways to do this. And it's a spray-on product, and you don't have to remove what's behind it. It's a product that can be used inside or outside. And again, we're going to have them on the show too. It was really,
It's
really
fascinating.
interesting.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
fascinating.
Yeah, I mean,
It's a very different product type for doing. It's going to fit a lot of solutions, I guess I want
yeah,
to say.
and I heard that well, maybe you just mentioned it, that they one of their clients, they're doing it on the outside, putting it over their stucco.
Yeah, over their stucco.
And it
And then
really is incredible. And the worst case is that they just put it up like a lath, like a metal lath first, screw it up,
yeah,
and then
I
spray
think
this
it
stuff
actually was
on.
like fiberglass, but anyway, it doesn't matter. They put this
So,
on and they spray it on, and it
yeah,
creates a waterproof seal. It's really fascinating stuff. Anyway, we're going to have them
yeah.
on the show too. Some of these might take us a little while to get. They're out of. They have a local representative, and we're chatting with the guy.
Texas.
Yeah, but they're based out of Texas, and so we're chatting with the local representative, and both John and I are looking at him. I'm like, this guy is
Slammed.
overwhelmed. He's slammed. And we were
Business.
we were kind of talking a little trade talk on the side, and we're like, man, he's like, I'm having scheduling issues. I can't get help, and we're just like, brother, we feel your pain.
Yeah,
Man. Like, we get it. Like,
they're
completely
there's
get it.
problems, and then there's good problems.
And these
But
are
they're
good
all
problems.
problems.
Yeah, but these are good problems. So so anyway, we're gonna have them on. It's called Stone Creations, CRE8 TIONS. So Stone Creations. Pretty interesting product line. They do have websites, all that sort of thing. One of the other things that we went on to, Johnny, was we talked to some geothermal guys, right?
Yeah, that was something I've seen in the past, that I never really caught up with.
Right.
And that
Same
was
here.
yeah, one of those things. And basically, folks, what it is they're just using the earth to exchange temperatures.
Yeah,
Basically,
it's
running through just like a condenser or whatever you want to call it.
It's a heat pump, is what it is. Yeah, it just uses the Earth's heat versus the air.
Exactly,
right?
exactly. Sometimes they go down 600 feet with these things.
Yeah.
He was saying, in the tubes and things down into the earth, and they're running, like you said, Larry. I guess the best way to think about it is as a heat pump, and just incredible. Now I've seen these things before, but I guess they've got this down now where it's actually it works really well.
Yeah, he went through a whole series of like what has happened in the past and things with us and why it sort of has a bad name. But folks, just to give you perspective, this is not going down to the magma to get the heat out. This is
Yeah.
not that kind of geothermal. This is just more or less a heat pump where they exchange it either out of the ground. One of the other things I thought was really fascinating, John, is they also their preferred method of all the ways, if you have water on your property, like a lake or a pond, they love to do it into the lake or pond. So again, that's a probably more for a bigger, for somebody that's got property with water on it. But just some really fascinating stuff, and we're going to have them on too, because that's an area that going forward, it's incredibly efficient, and it's actually how would we want to say this, John? Pretty pricey to get into, but there's all kinds of tax credits and things that depend on what state you're in, and some other factors. But there's the paybacks. The paybacks were within my range, like what my personal range would be. Like they were talking like 7 years, and that's for me, a payback always is based on a 7-year figure.
Yeah.
If I can get my money back out of it in 7 years, I'm good. Very environmentally friendly, particularly in the warmer states. Meaning, the reason that I say that is that the liquids they pump here in Georgia. Now, we talked to a local Georgia contractor and one of the manufacturer's representatives, but here in Georgia in the warmer climates, they just use water. So there's no
Yeah.
antifreeze. There's no. It's just basically they run water into pipes through the ground. Is what it is.
Right. It's kind of like what a commercial chiller is.
Yeah. Yep.
So that kind of thing. So if there's people that are out there that have I can see somebody who has a really big piece, a property with a big home on it, and they're thinking about actually putting in a big commercial AC unit or something. This probably be the way to go if they've got a lake on there,
Yeah, I wouldn't limit it to just big properties. So one of the things that they were talking about is even in subdivisions now, they're going vertical with these things. They're going up and down. So they don't need a huge footprint of ground to work with anymore, because they're not going horizontal. Well, they can do horizontal and they can do in a lake, but they also can drill vertically. So it's not out of the realm for anybody. It's really we'll have them on and we'll get
all the details. I can't remember what the SEER rating was on those things.
It was really high.
It was really high.
Really high. And it was I think it was just high teens, I think. And that was just their base unit was in the high teens. And so, folks, to give you, if you don't know what a SEER rating is, you can look it up.
It has to be more than that.
But super efficient. Like they were talking like 70 to 80% efficient.
That's a number I think I heard too. So
and he told a very funny story. So he's got a client that's a gas options trader, and he's like, well, I'm putting this in because it's an option against high energy prices. And so anyway, blah blah blah. It was it's very environmentally friendly also, which is kind of interesting. It is. But it's pricey to get into. But anyway, be that as it may. The company we talked to was Ecomec Geothermal. They're here in Georgia. They also go up into, I think he's got a couple of states, Tennessee, North Carolina, so forth and so on. Anyway, we'll get them on. This is about geothermal heating and cooling, which really was really fascinating.
Yeah, it was.
We also talked to some guys about deck coating, and it was kind of funny because I had just done a job where I was actually
I got to do my deck, but
I'm going to paint the deck. And in this case, had I known about this before I had actually done most of this work, I probably would have just given them a referral. But this is how would we describe what they do, John? Explain. I guess you tell me what your take on it is.
Well, my take is that they would. They actually come out and strip your deck down if you have anything on it, and they use a certain type of cleaner, and then they pressure wash it. They're careful about that, but they pressure wash it. But they have a substance that actually gets down into the wood itself, and what's nice about the way this works is that they do it while the wood is wet.
It's wet. Yep.
So that saves a lot of time. But
and the product actually hardens up.
It goes into the wood. Right.
Yeah.
It's kind of a catalyst type of stuff, and they lay it down. It seeps into the wood, and then it hardens up inside the wood, and it kind of goes. What do you say? 4 inches in some
in some he said
instances,
like 3 inches on average, and like 3 inches, and it'll do concrete as well. It goes 3 inches into concrete, which is pretty deep. That's
right.
really a really good sealant. And this is a true, how would you say, it's almost bond. They do a great demonstration. They put this stuff in a cup and they add baking soda, which is what the active ingredient is. It's the chemicals in baking soda, and it literally hardens up. Like, it hardens up hard, like you tip the cup upside down and it doesn't spill out. And I know that that's, mostly for sales effect, but still, if that's going into your wood and hardening up like that, that's really a great benefit for, and they give like a 25-year warranty. Like, you won't replace your decks for 25 years. He said he's having great success with it right now because of the cost of lumber. Big surprise, right?
Yeah, so, that was a big cost benefit right there. That was from their value proposition. What they were touting, which was very legitimate,
really legitimate.
And what I did, it's really like your brand new boards, and it looks just like that. It's not like a coloration or anything else. But it looks like, unless you saw some different colors, could they do that? I didn't know.
I can't remember. I think they do have coloration. Well, again, we're going to have
these guys on.
We're going to have them on the show because they'll give you a much better definition of what it is. But we did find it to be pretty unique. I don't think I've ever seen any products quite like this one out there on the market. And they're a what would we say? They're a regional company. So I think they're based up. Where were they based, John? Somewhere I think in the upper Midwest, somewhere.
Yeah, I'm not sure. We'll have to ask them.
We'll get into it.
I thought they were in the Southeast. But anyways, this product was really great with the with the advent of the woods being so expensive, and even if you have bad boards, flip them over. These guys will clean it all up and seal it up, and it's like a brand new deck. I mean, it's like the amount of the money that lumber is right now.
Yeah, or can you get it?
Get it?
Right. I mean, we were having issues with 5/4 board for a long time. I know those have kind of subsided, but still, it's just it really is a good option. Anyway, that was called Permaseal, and they're just a deck coating company, but very, very interesting, very different product from what we saw. Then we saw this one I found to be fascinating. I saw this was fascinating. We walk in, and here is this thing that looks like a propane tank pushed up on its end, cut off with a door cut in the side. And what is it? Well, it's a storm shelter. And it was called Remain Safe Shelters. We're probably not going to have them on the show, but I found it fascinating. And they literally take a great big propane tank and they make a storm shelter for tornadoes. And as we are at the show, we can hear we were under tornado watches that day, and the storm starts rolling in, and I'm like, Johnny, can we get over there to that storm shelter quickly?
Yeah.
And it was kind of crazy, but kind of an interesting concept. They have all different sizes. This one was just, I guess you'd call it a personal storm shelter, and they bolt that bad boy into the concrete, and it'll withstand it'll withstand an F5 tornado. And they've got all kinds of. I'm not staying in an F5 tornado, but I guess I would if I didn't have a choice. But
it's been a long time since I've been in a little tiny confined space like that.
Coffin.
Exactly, but I don't think I'd want to jump in that thing.
Well, I guess it. If your life depended on it.
I suppose. But just looking at that thing with the. Anyways, but they also built big shelters underground
shelters,
big
right?
Metal. That was their thing. But when we looked at that thing, we're like, wait, is that a propane tank? Somebody took a cutting torch and cut that thing in half, But anyways,
of course, both of us are going, well, is it bulletproof? And she's going, pretty much.
Yeah, Pretty much.
It was really, really thick steel. They did a lot of little things that actually somebody has actually sat in one of those things in a storm. So they give you 3 sets of headphones. I don't know how you'd get 3 people in there. Anyway, they gave you 3 sets of headphones, and that's just to negate the noise. And they said, do you know what it sounds like inside a propane tank when the hail is hitting it? And I'm like, oh my goodness, of course.
Yeah, I
right?
didn't even think about that.
You'd
Somebody
be
out there with a hammer.
Yeah,
on that
hammer
thing.
basically
Oh,
pounding on the side of the thing. So they gave you some headphones to dampen the noise and things, but well thought out. And John, it was pretty reasonably priced. I think pre-shipping now, folks, pre-shipping. I think they said it was only like $450, which really
I don't know how much it was. It was, yeah, I think it was more than that.
but I still didn't think it was terribly expensive compared to what I know it would cost me to pour a concrete one, like to build one, actually dig a hole in the ground and pour it and do what they had. So anyway, just kind of interesting. It was called Remain Safe Shelters, and you can look them up. I think they're based out in Oklahoma or something, but they kind of go all the way around the world here with these things. It was really funny because we were under tornado watches that day, and I mean the thunderstorm, the line of squalls went through, and we heard it on the roof, and we're like, man. Like anyway, kind of one of those things.
It's like I think I was going to take my chances inside the Cobb Galleria without jumping in that thing. Anyways, my my luck, I would have got in that thing, the door would have sealed.
Well,
like we can't get them up for days.
There would have been
that'd be like falling down a well.
Lock the door. Yeah, right.
Oh man. Anyways, what a nightmare that thing. Anyways. So
but again, so I mean, I just have to say this because she did say, the average time you're going to spend in it is 15 minutes. That's it. So I thought, I could tough it out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Provided knock yourself out
against the door, right?
Yeah, knock yourself out.
Anyway, but it was interesting. It was Remain Safe Shelter. Anyway, it was just interesting. It was an interesting kind of concept, She also, I also asked her, I said, with the current political state of things, are people asking you about radiation? And she said, oh, every day. And I'm like, oh, nice. Anyway, John, what was the last one we wanted to mention? What was the last one we wanted to mention?
That was the EverDry waterproofing. There's a lot of companies that do this for basements, crawl spaces,
right? Yep.
That kind of thing. But what is interesting about it is, we want to bring them on too, and just kind of give everybody, the basic rundown of how, water intrusion and avoidance, and what happens if it finds a way inside your house.
Yeah, that and the other thing was they do a lot of how did she describe it? They had a great, I'm going to say sales presentation, but it started off with check these things first, do this, and this, right? The do-it-yourself tips.
Yep.
And then we'll come out and, and then maybe we'll come out and inspect, and then we're going to give you our recommendations, and then you can go from there. But I found it interesting that their lead line was, we're going to give you tips and tricks for you to fix this yourself. And so some of these tips are some of the tips that we've given here on this show, but it still was, I just love a company that leads with that, right?
Right.
They lead with that. They're not leading with, hey, we're going to come out and give you a quote and blah, 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 all that kind of stuff.
Because
they're leading with tips and tricks. So
because these things are, when you really have this an issue with water intrusion in your basement, and it's coming in from really way down, and you've got your yard sloped and everything properly, can be quite
it's a pretty significant investment.
A monetary adventure. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
But it has to be done right. It has to be dug out from the outside. Nothing really works going on the inside. It has to be done. And she'll, they'll explain how they do this, which is pretty fascinating. And if you need to have it done, you need to have it done. I mean, there's just no two ways about it. So
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Very.
And that's what we know. But
Yeah.
but straight away we're referring to she because we were talking
Yeah.
to a female representative.
Yeah.
But the first thing she said is, well, we want you to go out and check the grade away from your house and make sure
Yep.
your gutters are running out. It might be as simple as you just need to put a gutter extension on there. And I just well, I mean,
that's what
John,
I did at my house in Chicago. That was the whole thing. My dad was down there for 20 years mopping up the floor, and I'm like, where's the gutter pour out? Oh, right there at the crack of the basement.
Right there at the crack of the basement. And she said that's they want to eliminate those things. And I had tremendous respect for the company that was their lead, that they led with that. So that's the reason we're going to have them on. I think they're a local company, but it doesn't matter. The processes are the same no matter where you go. And so, John, was there what else did we see at the home show that we thought was interesting or whatever? Anything else?
Not, I don't know if there's anything else that I can think of that was that interesting. There was, there was some guys there with solar stuff and things like that.
And we wanted to talk to him. We're going to actually
talk
do a
about
show
this later.
Yeah, we're going to do a show coming up. This is mostly for our business people, for our handyman pros, but this is trade shows, do's and don'ts. And one of the big reasons we talk about it, we're going to talk about, I'm just going to give you an example. We walk in and one of the very first booths we see is a solar company. And he's got the way his display was set up, or he or she, I don't really know. And therein was the problem. We don't really know because in all the time we were there was no one in the booth, working the booth. So whole different show coming at you later.
Yeah.
But, amongst many, many other things, but that was just one of them. I wanted to kind of see what's going on, current stuff on the solar business. And we just didn't really see too many. I think there were only two people there that were doing it. And the one, we'll get into this in the other show about, how we engaged with people and how we didn't. So anyway, John,
yep. It's that time, Larry.
You know what we didn't see there? The aliens were not there, Johnny. They were not there.
I'll tell you what. I would have gladly asked for their help if I was inside that shelter.
Beam my shelter up, please. Get me out of here.
Open the door.
Open the door. It was a little tight. If you're claustrophobic, folks, I don't know that the propane tank is for you. But anyway. But anyway, we'll be that. Well, folks, if you enjoy the Handyman Pros radio show, please tell your friends, send them a link to this craziness. Cause John and I, we just whatever, we do what we do. We're trying to help you. Again, our goal, help you save time, money, and aggravation on your home maintenance and repair. You can send us an email, questions@handymanprosradioshow.com or at handymanprosradioshow@gmail.com. Either way, you can get a hold of us. We have a website, handymanprosradioshow.com. We are on Facebook at Handyman Pros, and we are on Twitter at Handyman Radio. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next week on the Handyman Pros Radio Show.